Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. We are on episode number 19 of our sneak peek for the week. Two really obvious things. Number one, I need a shave and I need a haircut pretty bad. So hopefully we'll have that done by the next one. This is going to be very quick. A couple really, really big things you need to pay attention to this week. Before I jump into that, first thing to be aware of, obviously Amazon got absolutely hammered last week after earnings missed Wall Street estimates. Definitely something to be aware of for the week coming up. It's going to be hard to tell really if we're going to see any kind of recovery in that stock in the near term. Obviously, Amazon's a great player, very strong, very dominant force, especially with AWS there. But just be aware that kind of a hit that big, it can take time to recover. It could go down further. So just be aware of that if it's heavy in your portfolio, it's something you absolutely have to have eyes on. And I know a lot of people were thinking Amazon was going to blow out, and they really didn't. So just something to be aware of. I want to make sure everyone's paying attention that this could have a big impact this week coming up if you didn't have time to react to it or probably hedge against it. Just a quick point on that as well. Amazon's a favorite for large scale put sellers. So if you're selling put premium and you had been selling Amazon, most likely you were assigned. So there could be a lot of positions coming on the market here. So again, just be aware of that. The other big thing that we're talking about this week is U.S. Labor Department's July payrolls. This is going to be very, very, very heavily watched, talked about, reported on, influential to the markets. Payrolls are always important, but at scale, let's just break this down. Across the consensus of economists looking at this, we're expecting that non-farm payrolls should rise somewhere in the neighborhood of 900,000 for July. That would be the biggest job gain since about August 2020. So it's a big deal. That's a big number. We know in June we saw them raise somewhere around the 850,000 mark. So this is another strong month of continued unemployment, payrolls increasing rather. So it's a good sign. Hopefully it continues. Obviously, what we're also thinking along with that naturally is that the unemployment rate should have improved, a bit more, although we're not sure what those numbers look like just yet. I think this is really important because a couple of things that we have to keep talking about and that's going to be really, really important is we're still seeing a major, major gap of employment. Now, some of it is for some reasons like, people don't want to go back to work because they're scared. There's issues with babysitting. They're waiting for the schools to open back up before they return to work. Yeah, maybe that's probably some of it. I think a big part of it as well is that there's a lot of government support right now. So some of the lower paying jobs, maybe it's better off to sit on the couch and collect than it is to go and work a minimum wage job right now. Now, this isn't about how you feel about that or the opinion of the market or what anyone else thinks. These are just the realities of the situation. In my neck of the woods, we're seeing a lot of restaurants closing much, much earlier. We're seeing a lot of coffee shops, places like that, really getting desperate for staff, cutting hours. So I'm seeing it even at a micro scale. So what I'm seeing when I'm reading about this from the aggregate at the macro, I'm seeing it in my own neighborhood, down the street, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a big deal. And I think at scale, what we're seeing is that this labor issue is really causing some pretty serious issues as far as the overall economic recovery here. So we know services and manufacturing sectors are getting crushed right now. One key company that's come out and said this has been a big issue for them is Caterpillar, who's basically having to pay higher compensation cost, and they're still down on a labor perspective. So these are the kind of things as investors we want to understand. What is the impact of deep long-term unemployment, folks not returning to work, these long-term government support systems? Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people absolutely should be leveraging these, surviving, doing the right things for themselves and their families. Zero criticism. But as an investor or as a trader, it's very important to understand the impact this has on the overall markets, our economy, the recovery, what kind of stocks in particular are going to be affected. Obviously, services, if you don't think about it in these terms, think of it like this. Services is particularly key because, services is indicative of a person doing a job, right? So if people aren't going back to work in the services industry, this is going to have a huge effect. So what does this mean? Restaurants, bars, manufacturers, any kind of heavy labor work. I think construction, we're seeing a lot of this as well. So again, keep all this in mind. It's a big deal. We're also expecting some pretty significant earnings this week. I know normally I like to go over all of them. I'm going to keep it a little more specific. I think in particular what we're seeing is two real big players right now who've really garnered some good benefits from the stay-at-home era right now, and that's around Etsy and Square. So Etsy is getting ready to report on Wednesday. We think we're going to see a high degree of retention after a really big 2020. So this is going to be a big one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here as well. Now, ironically, because of the big hit to Amazon, we did see those shares of Etsy slide about 8% or so on Friday. So keep in mind, this is a correlation issue. So Amazon reports poor earnings. Anyone who has sort of that online buying model might get dragged down. A couple weeks back, I did a little bit of a discussion on this idea of, what do similar highly correlative players tell us about other players in the game? So like, if Facebook does really great, maybe, FBet will do really great. We know Pinterest will do really great, etc. This is the exact reverse of that. Amazon got absolutely pounded. So this sets up somewhat of a threat for Etsy. Now, Etsy's a very different marketplace with very different buyers. But that said, something to be aware of. Could be a play if you believe they're going to blow out earnings where they're down 8%. Could be a place where you want to potentially look for the short side to make some profit here. So just be aware of that. This is something we see a lot during earnings seasons. If you're new to investing, this is why it matters to understand how different stocks and companies correlate with one another. Certainly something you have to be paying attention to. Just to put it lightly, it's a big deal. And of course, Square, obviously being an online payment system, is looking to see what kind of a benefit they get. They're one of those funny ones where even when they do great, it's really going to be dependent on what Wall Street analysts are calling for it. So they could have really great numbers, they could have really great growth, but if it doesn't meet the expectations, that's where there's risk. So, one thing I would call out is, although Square has been a pretty well-known name, a pretty great stock, for the year, it's really only risen about 13.6%. Now, if you're like me, it pains me to say only 13.6%, but that's taking into account the fact that the broader market has had such a better growth rate this year. So just keep that in mind as well, okay? However, I will make a point, though. It did grow over 250% in 2020. So all things have a balance, and sometimes they have to find that balance. Now, real quick, I'm going to run through some of the bigger earnings coming up for the week. And then what I really want you to focus on, though, is understanding how these correlations play into each other, how you protect yourself from your portfolio when these things happen. But also, more than anything, if you get anything from tonight, I have literally seen 100 videos in the past month talking about, do you want passive income forever? Sell put premium. It's the easiest thing in the world. There are people who are going to be financially wiped out who have positions that are short. Who are selling short positions near the money for Amazon. Now, of course, hopefully they weren't naked in those positions. If they were, that's a huge problem. But even if they were cash covered, you now are sitting on stock that could be significantly, that could represent a significant loss for you. And not everyone reacts the same way to that. So make sure you understand selling put premium carries massive risk, even when you're prepared for it, and even when you think things are going to go the way they go. There's a reason why, for many years, these were the kind of things that were done by very heavily capitalized traders and investment firms who had the backing to do it the right way, understood the risk models, understood how to hedge against it. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is, if you're going to do it, you have to know how to protect yourself, protecting the downside, etc. It's not an insignificant thing to follow advice on YouTube about how to make easy money, and then suddenly you're now sitting on $370,000 worth of stock you don't want that's down 20% in your cash holdings. It's a scary thing, and make sure you know how to fix that problem if it happens. So real quick, I'm going to bang out some of these earnings coming up for this week, things that I'm going to be paying attention to at scale. So on Monday, we know Diamondback Energy, which is FANG, Simon Property Group, SPG. This is like shopping malls, etc. I'm really looking forward to seeing the numbers here, just as sort of a sense of the macro economy. Are people actually leaving their houses? How bad is the online economy crushing stores? I really want to see what happens here. That's SPG again. Zoom Info Technologies, ZI, is going to be all after market close. On Tuesday, we're looking at Under Armour, UAA, Clorox, CLX, ConocoPhillips, COP, Nikola, NKLA. Who knows what's going to happen here? This is just an interesting one to follow, sort of in the sense of what's really happening. Is this even a company anymore? I think we're going to get some answers today. We know Discovery, DI, SCA is coming out. Eli Lilly, LLY, KKR, Marriott International, MAR. Again, a bellwether for us to understand travel. Has the summer picked up? Have there been bookings, etc.? Ralph Lauren, RL, all before market open. And there's a lot of other ones as well, but I want to call it the ones I'm particularly looking at. Now we know Akamai, AKAM, Devon Energy, DVN, Caesars Entertainment, CZR, Prudential Financial, PRU, Occidental Petroleum, OXY, Activision Blizzard, ATVI, which has been racked recently with a number of accusations of treatment of women that have apparently been extremely bad. And frankly, the CEO is getting pounded, and if these things are true, deserves every bit of it. We know Ava's Budget Group, symbol CAR, is reporting, Live Nation, LYV, Lyft, LYFT, as well as Match, MTCH, and Amgen, AMGN, are all aftermarket close. So that's a busy Tuesday across a whole bunch of sectors and subsectors. So definitely some areas we're going to be paying attention to. It's going to help us start to build. When I say it, when I think about the way I approach the market long term and short term too, the way I look at all these sectors and subsectors is how I build my ideas. My ideas are built by industry and then broken down by interest within those subsectors that are within the industries. So I might like oil and gas, just as an example. Now I want to understand who are the top performers, who are the folks I may want to go short on, etc. So this is how you start to generate ideas. It's built off of real numbers, real facts, real reporting. Wednesday, again, no surprise, it's going to be a huge day. CVS Health Corp, CVS is on Wednesday. Amerisource Bergen, Marathon Petroleum, Amerisource, sorry, is ABC. Marathon Petroleum is MRO. Apollo Global Management, APO. Kraft Heinz, KHC. New York Times, NYT. Royal Caribbean Cruises, RCL, again, one that I really want to watch for and see what's going on. General Motors, GM, all before the market opens. Now, after markets are going to be Booking Holdings, BKNG, Allstate, ALL, McKesson, MKG, MGM Resorts, MGM, Etsy, we mentioned this earlier, ETSY, Electronic Arts, EA, IAC Interactive, which is IAC, Lemonade, still relatively new, LMND, Roku, ROKU, Uber, again, UBER. These are getting easier so when they go with the names, right? Western Digital, WDC, and Wynn Resorts, WYNN. Again, Wednesday's particularly interesting because we're getting sort of another take. We're going to see some more casinos reporting. Maybe we get some indicators from other casinos. We see some more hotel groups, some travel-focused companies here. Maybe we get some early indicators as to what's happening or some signal in that market as well. Thursday, again, it's a big one. We've got Cigna, CI, Wayfair, W, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, REGN, Viacom, CBS, VIAC, Plug Power. This has gotten a lot of Reddit attention, a lot of really squeezed attention. So just be curious to see what happens here. PLUG, Duke Energy, DUK, Datadog, DDOG, SeaWorld Entertainment. Again, are people going out and actually seeing things? SEAS, Moderna, mRNA. As you can imagine, Moderna, with all the vaccines going on, be interesting to see what's happening there. Yeti Holdings, YETI, Kellogg, K, all before the market opens. Now, after the market, we're looking at Square, SQ, Cloudflare, NET, TripAdvisor, TRIP. You know what I'm going to say about that. FireEye, FEYE. FireEye is one I'm also going to be paying particular attention to. I love the cybersecurity market. I think that we live in an era where it is extremely important to understand that there are constant cyber threats going on, and there are companies who are trying to fight them. I don't necessarily have one that I love or don't love, so I do pay attention to all of them. FireEye is a name I do pay attention to. Not that I like it or don't like it, but just one that I like to pay attention to. Vimeo, VMEO, Virgin Galactic, SPCE, kind of cute space, right? We know where they just were. Zillow, ZG, Shake Shack, SHAK, Dropbox, DBX, Beyond Meat, BYND, Expedia, EXPE, and Stamps.com, STMP, all, again, are after the market close. Now let's wrap it up on Friday. We've got AMC Entertainment, always a wild ride. This is one I almost feel obligated to watch just because of the Reddit world and the meme stocks and everything else. But you know what? They're doing some interesting things. Maybe there's something coming down here that's going to be really big or a big surprise. Dish Network, DISH, DraftKings, DKNG, Dominion Energy, D, Norwegian Cruise Lines, NCLH, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, GT, and Cinemark Holdings, CNK, are all before the market open. Now, again, on Friday, I mentioned AMC's an interesting watch, but again, Norwegian Cruise Lines, are we going to get some sort of a signal or indication of what's going to happen there by looking at what happens in the days before around different cruise lines? Now, again, I do like to talk about economic calendars, but I'm actually not going to do that. I think that the payroll report is so significant and so important. You really need to have your eyes on that and be prepared for what this could mean. When I say be prepared, this is real simple stuff. Go and look at all the past jobs reports where we've had huge numbers and what's happened to the markets, the futures markets. How have things gone up or down? How have the major indices moved? These are the moves you need to start making when you're preparing for the week ahead. You don't wait for it to happen and then see what goes on. You study it, you research it, you see what's happened in the past. Prepare yourself for that, but prepare for something different to happen as well. So I talked fast because I want to get a lot out tonight without making this a super long video. So at about 15 and a half minutes, that should do it for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Always appreciate the views. Thanks so much. And, have a great week. Pay attention to the earnings, pay attention to the job report, and stay safe and hedge your bets. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for watching.